Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 25th of February and we will be dealing with three very important topics which are in news. The first is C40 cities and UN Habitat Partnership. This partnership has come into picture with the objective of reducing emissions from the urban centers by 25% by 2050. This ultimately aims at developing sustainable urban infrastructures. Urbanization all across the world is increasing rapidly, but yes, the carbon footprint associated with urbanization needs to be tackled. Second is IRDAI sets up panel to review the insurance laws. The Insurance Act of 1938 have to be reviewed, according to which FDI up to 74% is allowed by the foreign firms in the Indian insurance sector. We are talking to increase it to 100%. For that purpose, this panel has been set up. This panel will review the existing laws and will recommend the ways in which the extended FDI will be applicable. Next is Economic Survey Chapter 3 thematic discussion which we are doing. The chapter is all about India's external sector. In today's topic, we will be talking about the FPI flows into India and outside of India, what were the factors responsible for it, and other things related to India's external sector as well. We will be completing it today. So let's get started with the first topic, that is C40 cities and UN Habitat Partnership. The objective of this partnership is to create a new urban planning accelerator that helps cities reduce emissions by 25% by 2050 while promoting safer, fairer and more inclusive urban environments. The focus areas will be solutions to address climate challenges and create resilient, equitable and urban communities. So this is what the challenge, I would say objective is: sustainable development of cities. Reducing emissions by 25% from the urban areas, because majority of the emissions come from urban areas only. And urbanization is increasing day by day. Now this C40 cities is a grouping comprising of 96 mega cities from across the world. From India, there are 7 cities which are part of the C40 cities program. These 7 cities are New Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai, these 4 big cities. Apart from it, Bengaluru, Ahmedabad and Jaipur. So these are the 7 cities which are from India part of C40. UN Habitat is that arm of the United Nations which deals with the urbanization. So urbanization is something, or it is a phenomenon where the urban population is increasing. This will increase, or this will happen with the rise in the levels of development. There is a direct correlation. But yes, there are multiple urban planning challenges. Urban areas are growing very rapidly. They are growing 50% faster than the population growth, particularly in climate vulnerable areas. When I talk about the features of urbanization in India, it is kind of driven by urban pull as compared to rural push. Means people more and more migrate to urban areas in search of work or in search of better lives, and they end up doing unpaid labor or underpaid labor. They end up into crimes as well: chain snatching, pickpocketing and other petty crimes just to sustain themselves. This increases crimes in the urban areas as well, and that makes urbanization unsustainable. A lot of people moving towards the urban centers puts a lot of pressure on the social infrastructure of the urban areas, like water supply, drainage and such like. And there is lack of water supply, or there is lack of proper drainage, which leads to a lot of, I would say, diseases as well among the people, and puts pressure on the healthcare infrastructure of those urban areas, which is not developed enough to, I would say, deal with the situation in such a manner. So this is what it is. So without intervention, cities would triple in size by 2050, exacerbating emissions, urban sprawl and inequality. Need for action: the partnership focuses on reshaping urban development to address these pressing issues. Key objectives of Urban Planning Accelerator: prioritizing compact cities, promoting regenerative urban areas over urban sprawl. Encouraging mixed use, connected neighborhoods, aiming to reduce car dependency and foster vibrant communities. regulating climate risk areas, ensuring sustainable construction and protecting natural ecosystems to guard against extreme weather events. So, these are the key objectives of Urban Planning Accelerator, which will be established by C40 cities and UN Habitat. Now, some expert perspectives. Expert perspective, first is Mark Watts. He is the executive director of the C40 cities. Urban planners play a key role in addressing climate challenges. Compact, walkable cities are essential for cutting pollution and creating safer, livable neighborhoods. Collaboration with UN Habitat empowers cities to act decisively and equitably for all the residents. Then next expert is Anna Claudia Rosbach, Executive Director of UN Habitat. What does she have to say? She says that sustainable, resilient and inclusive cities are essential for both people and the planet. Densification, regeneration of urban areas are critical to preserve ecological functions. Regeneration of urban areas simply means that whatever impact has been done, it should not be of that magnitude that it is not irreversible. It should be reversible, means nature has this inherent property of healing itself. So that is what regenerative properties are. So cities should be regenerative. The collaboration aims to combat informal settlements and slums, which affect 1.1 people living globally in the slum areas. Now the Urban Shift Forum. Location. The partnership was announced at the Green and Resilient Urban Shift Africa Forum in Nairobi. Forum goals to bring together stakeholders from Africa, including national and local governments, investors and civil society organizations to exchange best practices, foster partnerships and advance climate ambitions. Future developments. Announcement of the accelerator. Further details of the Urban Planning Accelerator will be announced later this year. So when they will be announced, we will try to cover that as well. But yes, before that, let us talk and know about the UN Habitat. Okay. So, overview of UN Habitat. Role: UN Habitat is a focal point within the United Nations for all issues related to urbanization and human settlements. The UN General Assembly has mandated UN Habitat to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns with cities with the ultimate goal of ensuring adequate shelter for all. So, anything related to urbanization in the United Nations is being dealt by this body called as UN Habitat. Let me tell you, it is neither a principal organ, nor a specialized agency, nor a related organization. It is a body established by the United Nations dealing with urbanization. Its mission is, it works in partnership with various organizations to create inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable cities and communities. Focus: UN Habitat views urbanization as a positive force that can transform lives, reduce inequality, combat discrimination and help eradicate poverty. Headquarters of UN Habitat is in Nairobi, Kenya. So this is what United Nations Habitat is, and the 3-tier governance structure of UN Habitat also we should know. The first is UN Habitat Assembly. It comprises of all the 193 members of United Nations. Since it is a body established by United Nations, so all the members of UN are part of the UN Habitat Assembly. Urban centers are there in every country. Frequency: it convenes every 4 years. It serves as a universal body for decision making within UN Habitat. There is an executive board apart from UN Habitat Assembly. The board includes 36 member states which are elected by the UN Habitat Assembly. It means 3 times a year. The role of this executive board is it enhances oversight by member states over the operations of UN Habitat. Whatever resolutions have all been passed or picked up over here, this deals with that. Then next is Committee of Permanent Representatives, CPR. Composition: it is made up of permanent representatives from member states. The CPR meets twice every 4 years in an open-ended manner, and CPR ensures coordination and smooth functioning between UN Habitat and all the stakeholders. So this is how UN Habitat's 3-tier governance structure is. So yes, this is something which needs to be looked into, that is urbanization. It should be sustainable, cities should be livable, and there are many problems. Like in India last year, we all know that 3 of the fellow aspirants, they died due to urban flooding. One of them died due to electrocution. These were UPSC aspirants living in Delhi, the capital of the country. So these kind of problems are there. So that needs to be tackled. Next is IRDAI sets up panel to review the insurance laws. IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. It is a statutory body which regulates the insurance sector. Now in the insurance sector, as of now, 74% FDI is allowed, and it is mandatory that 26% of the stakeholding should be by an Indian entity. That is why we see insurance companies like IFCO Tokyo. Tokyo is a foreign brand, IFCO is an Indian brand. PNB MetLife, PNB Indian, MetLife foreign. So this kind of collaborations are there because 100% FDI is not allowed. But yes, in this year's budget, the finance minister announced that we are planning to implement 100% FDI in the insurance sector. And for that purpose, this panel has been set up. This panel has been set up under the chairmanship of Mr. Dinesh Khara. He is a former chairman of State Bank of India. A 7-member committee it will be to review the proposed amendments to the Insurance Act of 1938. Because in this law only it has been written how much FDI is permitted, and what happens is generally when we buy insurance, so we pay an annual premium, and in case of exigency only we use that, we claim the insurance. If we don't claim, then that premium what we paid is paid, it does not return back. Now these insurance companies invest these premiums somewhere or the other, and based on those investments and then returns, then only the company is able to settle. Like for example, if I buy a car insurance for 10,000 rupees by paying 10,000 rupees premium, and God forbid my car meets an accident and the total claim is somewhere around 1 lakh. So it will be offset by it will be managed by the insurance company. So this is how by paying 9,000 I am secured that 1 lakh will be covered. But that insurance company takes these premiums from multiple insurance buyers, invests that premium somewhere, gets the returns on those premiums, and then issues claims to the people who need it only. Okay. So all these things are provisions are written in this law where that can be invested, and all these regulations are also there. The committee's role is to suggest a framework for implementing the proposed amendments, which include raising the FDI limit in the insurance sector. The committee is tasked with suggesting a framework and rules for implementing provisions like 100% FDI, composite licenses, and new entrants in the insurance sector. Now, why we are doing this? Because we want to invite more and more investment in this sector. We need to increase the insurance penetration and density. We saw it in the economic survey series which we are covering, that the insurance penetration and density in the country is low. It is below the global average. And there is a lot of potential, but that potential can be tapped if the laws or regulations in the country are investment friendly. Now, key facts about the Insurance Act 1938. It serves as the primary regulatory framework for country's insurance industry and led to the establishment of IRDAI. Act defines the scope of life, general and health insurance in the country and regulates the role of insurance agents. So it also, how the insurance agents and all should be behaving, what steps they should be taking, all is regulated by it. It regulates the relationship between insurer, its policy holders, shareholders, and the regulator IRDAI. Key focus of the amendment: the FDI limit for insurance sector was 26% in 2000. First of all, we should know that. It was raised to 49% in 2015 and 74% in 2021. So currently it is this. Now the key focus of the amendment is to make it 100%. To increase in FDI limit from 74 to 100%. Conditions: this enhanced limit will be available for companies that invest the entire premium in India. So it is also a condition that the entire premium should be invested in India, whatever you are realizing from India. The current rules and conditions related to foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. Amendments to the key acts: Insurance Act 1938 will be amended. Life Insurance Corporation Act, which has established LIC, will be amended, and Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India Act, IRDA Act 1999, which established IRDA as a statutory body, will be amended. What will be the probable impacts of these amendments? Obviously, first, the boost to sector growth. The sector growth will be boosted. Increasing the FDI limit will encourage more investment in the insurance sector, leading to higher penetration of insurance products, entry of new players, driving competition, job creation across the country will also happen. Overall, insurance penetration and all will or is expected to increase. Insurance market landscape, currently there are 25 LIC life insurance companies and 34 non-life insurance firms in India, which include Agriculture Insurance Companies of India Limited and ECGC as well. Additional reforms, FDI rules and profit repatriation, that will also be amended along with the FDI amendment. Government will address the rules on how investments will be made and profits repatriated by these companies. Composite licenses, reforms will also include provisions for composite licenses, which allow companies to operate in both life and general insurance. So there are multiple categories: life, general and health insurance. So these composite licenses is when a company is given the license to have issue life insurance also, general insurance also. So this will also be taken care of. What is the timeline and next steps? So internal consultations, government has almost completed internal consultations on the amendments. Next steps, the proposed amendments and rules will be included in the bill that will be introduced in the parliament for approval. Once approved, the rules related to FDI, composite licenses and other reforms will be notified to enable the changes. Let's see what kind of changes happen. Whenever the bill will be tabled, we will be discussing it. Don't worry. Now coming on to the third segment, that is the thematic discussion, economic survey, chapter 3, global economic uncertainty and India's external sector. Part 3 we are dealing with, and there are only 3 parts for this chapter. We will be completing it today. Performance of portfolio flows. Foreign portfolio investment trends, positive trend, June to September 2024, FPI's net buyers in Indian equities injecting substantial capital into the market. But from October to November 2024, there was reversal of trend. This can happen if some other economy, the investment instruments in some other economies, they become more attractive. So let's suppose there is inflation in America. The Central Bank of America increased the policy rates, and increase of policy rates will make the investment instruments more attractive over there. So these FPIs, what they will do, they will pick their money from India and they will park their money in the American securities. This is called as flight of capital from India. This makes rupee more vulnerable. Rupee starts declining or becoming weakened. So this is what it is, and this was experienced from October to November 2024. But yes, renewed optimism was there November to December 2024, and cumulative flows from April to December, the total FPI inflows during this period were $10.6 billion, down from $31.7 billion. So it reduced in FY24 as in April to December 2024 as compared to the April to December period in 2023. Factors affecting FPI inflows, global influences. As I told you that if there will be inflation in other countries, which will make the investment instruments of those countries attractive, so these FPIs will be going there. India's long-term appeal, definitely it is there, but yes, this long-term appeal seemed to be weakened last year when there were less amount of FPI inflows into India. Impact of Indian government bonds inclusion. So Indian government bonds were included by JP Morgan's emerging market bond index, and post inclusion, lot of FPIs have started to inflow into India as well. So debt segment flows October 2023 to November 2024. This is 1 year, 1 month. Heightened FPI activity between October 2023 and June 2024. Cumulative debt flows totaled 1.1 lakh crore rupees. Post inclusion flows means once India was included in this emerging market bonds index, Indian government bonds were included in that. Then after that, from the effective date of inclusion, FPIs invested 62,431 crore rupees into the debt segment. FAR Securities, India's fully accessible route securities, crossed the USD 20 billion mark within 9 months after their inclusion in the JP Morgan's EM bond index, emerging markets bond index. FY25 inflows up to December 15, 2024, India's FAR bonds saw a net inflow of USD 3 billion, which was less than the previous one, with assets under custody standing at USD 28 billion. Interest rate differentials, India versus US yield gap. So as I told you that if the yield is more in other economies, then definitely the FPIs will be attracted to those economies. It is very simple. So the yield differential between India and the US has played a significant role in driving debt flows, FPI debt flows. Widening yield differential from November 2023 to March 2024, as the yield differential widened in favor of India, means India's yields were better. Then FPI's inflows surged in India. Narrowing yield gap. Despite the narrowing yield gap, India's strong growth and stable inflation kept it attractive for foreign investors. But yes, FPI inflows comparatively reduced into India during this period. Then government securities demand, G-Secs demand, increase in G-Secs demand, positive impact on borrowing costs were there. Rising demand for Indian G-Secs is expected to lower the borrowing cost for government as yields softened due to high demand and limited supply. Foreign investor confidence, inclusion of Indian bonds in the global indices by JP Morgan shows a growing appetite among foreign investors to invest in the Indian bonds. Indian economy is definitely the cherry on the cake, the fastest growing economy in the world. Now, other external sector developments, if I talk about the non-resident Indian deposits, NRIs deposits means the deposits in the bank, they saw significant growth with net inflows rising to $10.2 billion in half one of FY25 from USD $5.4 billion in the same period FY24, means almost doubled. External commercial borrowings, net ECB inflows rose sharply to USD $9.2 billion from USD $2.8 billion in the previous year, reflecting greater appetite for borrowing from foreign sources. Forex reserves and buffer against external shocks. So December 2024, India's foreign exchange reserves stood at USD $640.3 billion, enough to cover approximately 90% of external debt. Reserve adequacy, India's reserves provide a robust buffer against external vulnerabilities. The import cover, a key indicator of external sector stability, stood at 10.9 months as of December 2024, means we had ample forex to cover imports of 10.9 months if we are not adding anything in the forex. This is what is import cover means. Now, foreign exchange trends. So INR performance, INR depreciation, FY25 depreciated by 2.9% in the first 9 months of FY25, means it became weaker as compared to a mix of other major currencies such as Canadian dollar, South Korean won and Brazilian real. Impact of global factors, depreciation of INR was largely driven by strengthening of the US dollar amidst geopolitical tensions and uncertainty around the US elections. But yes, we are talking about de-dollarization of the world. We will have to undertake massive efforts for that. Then effective exchange rate trends. So there are two effective exchange rates. One is nominal effective exchange rate, NEER. This is actually when you place Indian currency with a weighted average of other major currencies of the world. What is the exchange rate? And the inflation is not adjusted in nominal effective exchange rate. In real effective exchange rate, inflation is adjusted. Means what is the value of INR as compared to a weighted average of other major currencies of the world. But the difference is inflation adjusted, non-inflation adjusted. So this is what we need to know. And the last part, external debt positioning of India. Economic Survey 2024-25, what it says, stability of external debt is there. India's external debt has remained stable over the past few years, contributing to external sector stability. The stability is especially significant amid geopolitical challenges worldwide. That is why we are saying that India is a shining star. External debt, if I see the profile of other countries, even some developed countries, their profile is, I would say, quite disturbing as of now. External debt to GDP ratio increased. The external debt to GDP ratio rose slightly from 18.8% at the end of June 2024 to 19.4% at the end of September 2024. The short-term debt decrease in share of short-term debt maturity of up to 1 year decreased to 18.8% at the end of September 2024 from 19.4% at the end of June 2024, means those debts which were taken for short term, those have reduced. Short-term debt ratio to foreign exchange reserves decreased from 18.9% from 20.3% in the same period previously. Currency composition, external debt denomination. the highest amount of India's external debt denomination is in US dollar. That is 53.4% of India's external debt is denominated in dollar. Then we have denominations in INR also. We've taken loans in INR, which we have to pay in INR also only. SDR is, I would say, the currency of IMF, special drawing rights. It is, the full form is. Then Euro 3%. Current account and merchandise trade, merchandise exports, it showed a moderate growth due to a slowdown in external demand. Merchandise imports increased significantly due to strong domestic demand. Services and remittances, net services receipts and growing remittances helped cushion the rise in the merchandise trade deficit, which we've covered earlier as well, that the services surplus along with the remittance inflows into the country helped us offset the deficit in the merchandise trade. Capital inflows, positive net capital inflows were there. They were observed in the economy. Gross FDI inflow grew in the first 8 months of FY25 compared to the previous year, but net FDI growth was restrained by an increase in repatriation, means a lot of money went also outside India. FPI, foreign portfolio investments inflows were volatile in FY25, showing a mixed result. In the first quarter it increased, in the second quarter it decreased, then things were better ahead. Global trade dynamics shift from globalization to protectionism. This is increasing, due to which more and more countries are looking inwards. Now we have America with the leader, an inward looking leader. More protectionism has increased, and if America increases protectionism, many countries in the world will increase protectionism. This will definitely be, or this can be, a big blow to the global trade. So India's strategic roadmap, India needs a new strategic trade roadmap to remain competitive and enhance participation in global supply chains. Reducing trade costs, improving facilitation is crucial for boosting export competitiveness. Continuous investment in quality necessary for sustained growth. It is. If we are not investing in quality, the demand for our products will not be there. That is very simple and straight. Role of governance and private sector definitely is there. Focus on quality and efficiency. The private sector should be doing that. Expanding market share despite global trade challenges, improving these factors definitely will be the onus of the government, and sustaining economic growth definitely will be the onus of the government as well as the private sector in the country. Now dealing with the MCQs based on these 3 topics. First, the Urban Planning Accelerator established by UN Habitat and C40 cities aims at which of the following? Help cities reduce emissions by 25% by 2030. Promoting safer, fairer and more inclusive urban environments. Only one, only two, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Second, consider the following statements with respect to UN Habitat and mark the correct one. UN Habitat is a specialized agency under United Nations systems. It is headquartered in Kenya. It aims at eradicating poverty among other aims of it. Third, consider the following statements and mark how many of them are correct. 100% FDI is allowed in insurance sector in India. IRDAI, the regulating authority of insurance sector, is a statutory body. The Insurance Act 1938 regulates the relationship between an insurer, its policyholders, shareholders and the regulator IRDAI. Only one statement is correct, only 2 statements are correct, all the statements are correct or none of the statements are correct. You have to find the correct one. The keyword is how many of these are correct. Fourth question, which of the following factors impact the FPI flows in India? Economic conditions in major markets like China and USA. Long-term appeal of India. Geopolitical uncertainties. Very carefully answer this question. Fifth, in which currency is India's highest amount of external debt denominated? US dollar, Euro, INR or SDR? Again, very straightforward, simple question, but yes, carefully answer this. Now discussing the answers to MCQs of yesterday. Which of these countries is not part of OPEC Plus? OPEC Plus is a grouping of 24 countries now. At the core is 13 countries. But yes, outside the core there are 11 countries now. Russia is part of it. South Sudan and Brunei are part of it. So all these are wrong and Guyana is going to be the correct option. It was very simple, straightforward question. Second, consider the following statements with respect to OPEC and mark the correct one. OPEC is an intergovernmental organization with 13 member countries. Okay. From Asia and Africa only. No, why are we forgetting South America? Because Venezuela is part of it also, and Venezuela was one among the founding members of OPEC. So this statement is wrong. It is headquartered in Vienna, Austria. This statement is correct. Although Vienna, Austria is not part of it, OPEC. but it is headquartered over there. So B is going to be the correct option. Third, in which hills is the Mulla Periyar Dam located? It was very simple. It is in the Cardamom Hills, and Cardamom Hills is part of the Western Ghats. It was clearly mentioned in the slide. So nothing, I would say, no rocket science over here, no concept over here, only straightforward factual question it was. Which factors have led to rise in exports from the e-commerce sector? Digitalization, definitely more and more people are using, digital gadgets and all, and which are making them shop more and more. So definitely this has led to it. Make in India, definitely people are making in India and exporting from India. And GST also, because this is a government, I would say, intervention where when the exporters, they are paying the GST on time, they get certain benefits, they get certain incentives due to which they are able to boost the exports. So all the three are there. So all of the above is the correct option over here. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I'll be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. I'm not repeating it today. Namaste. Jai Hind.